Welcome to China Events, I am Jason. At present, the new news of global de-dollarization has become a hot topic. In the current situation, especially in some developing countries, where the dollar foreign exchange reserves are seriously insufficient, due to the dollar's aggressive interest rate hike, the national currency will face a very rapid depreciation, which will lead to high inflation in the country, as well as the debt snowball of the dollar foreign settlement is getting bigger and bigger. The process of de-dollarization is accelerating, and after Brazil and Argentina, another South American country has begun to use the yuan to settle trade, becoming the third country in South America to use the yuan to settle trade. According to the Associated Press, Bolivia has begun to use the yuan to settle import and export trade, becoming the latest South American country to use the yuan on a regular basis. Between May and July of this year, Bolivia's RMB transactions reached $278 million alone, accounting for 10% of foreign trade during that period, and Bolivia also plans to set up a Chinese-funded bank in the country. In fact, as early as before, the president of Bolivia attended the 62nd summit of the Southern Common Market, Mercosur, in Argentina, called on South American countries, including Mercosur member states, to reduce their dependence on the dollar. In this regard, a U.S. think tank experts analyze that more and more South American countries, such as Argentina, to give up the dollar to the use of the yuan, which is a wind vane, and for the dollar in Latin America and other regions of the special status is shaken, the U.S. Treasury Department is now anxious. Now the two largest countries in South America, and also the two largest economies, Brazil and Argentina, have successively used the yuan to settle trade. According to a July 25 report by the Nihon Keizai Shimbun, the yuan has officially surpassed the US dollar for the first time in China's bilateral settlements. According to the data, the share of yuan settlements reached 49% in the second quarter of 2023, surpassing the US dollar for the first time. The foreign media said that although the global scope of the yuan settlement relative to the dollar, only 1/20th of the latter, accounting for less than 3%, but China in the de-dollarization has begun to make progress. In addition to the South American country, India's central bank also said 2 weeks ago that several Indian refiners have begun to use yuan purchases to settle crude oil imports from Russia, leaving the dollar out of the equation. The above several latest de-dollarization new news shows that the yuan has been playing an increasingly important role in global oil settlement and international financial system. In fact, just in March this year, in a landmark event of de-dollarization, China and France have also completed their first LNG trade in yuan, undermining the dollar's dominance in energy trading. But more importantly, the gas came from the Middle East's oil-producing UAE, marking the first RMB-settled order between China, France, and the UAE in the energy sector, which opens the door to many more similar deals in the future, and marks the official entry of the petro-yuan into the European market, following on from the Middle East. And the financial restrictions imposed by the US on several oil-producing countries using the dollar's currency status have become an opportunity for more and more countries to consider de-dollarization now. At the same time to carry out is, Iran and Pakistan, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, as well as India and many other countries also plan to use the Asian Exchange Alliance to achieve de-dollarization, and the establishment of an organization's member states' control of digital currency-based international banking exchange, and officially announced the use of the yuan and other as a reserve currency, in order to replace the dollar's original position and share. And as recently as June, the Central Bank of Iran has announced that it will issue a digital reserve currency anchored in gold, a digital currency backed by gold that will allow Iran to lock in an international gold exchange rate in order to bypass the US financial monitoring system, and as part of the strategy, the Central Bank of Iran has launched a new currency exchange center in April and for the first time, allowed the possibility of using the Chinese yuan for direct gold trading, and the country's central bank has said at the promotion of the ability of Iran to the central bank has said that promoting Iran's access to more gold is the most important goal of the center's establishment. Not only that, as a key step in the de-dollarization, Iran's foreign exchange website said in a statement published on July 30, considering that Iran has replaced the dollar's foreign exchange position with the yuan and is striving to send more oil to the Chinese market against the backdrop of the expanding pricing power function and market trading share of the yuan's crude oil futures, overlaid on the leading edge of the digital renminbi. According to the latest data from the Iranian Financial Tribune, as of June, the yuan share of Iran's foreign reserves has exceeded 22%. An analysis shows that the settlement currency for China's purchases of Iranian oil is mostly in yuan or euros, and that at least more than 30 million metric tons of Iranian oil have continued to arrive in China over the 24 months ending July 15. According to the McGill International, a leading global research firm, in a report published in a July 30 update, it was suggested that oil-producing countries could swap some of their oil export profits for gold reserves to support the prospect of a global digital reserve currency system anchored in gold to reduce the risk of credit exposure to the US dollar and US debt reserves, with the report specifically mentioning the four major oil-producing countries, Iran, Saudi Arabia, Iraq and the UAE, for major oil-producing countries, could swap a portion of their oil revenues for gold. Because of this, the growing number of digital currencies will weaken the dollar and form a new global digital currency order. Digital currencies could link more and more global central banks directly, bypassing the US-based banking system. This suggests that the role of the dollar is effectively being revalued. Against these backdrops, U.S. Treasury Secretary Yellen said in a July 31 interview with the U.S. media that, while the dollar's reserve status is hard to shake, she also said that, at a time when the repeated U.S. standoffs over the debt ceiling crisis have severely undermined the dollar's status as a global reserve currency, a number of countries around the globe are accelerating the development of a number of financial systems independent of the dollar in the context of that the resulting consequences for the U.S. financial system will be increasingly costly for us and will further undermine the financial prestige of the U.S. debt. And that explains part of the reason why at least 4 U.S. lawmakers have urgently urged Congress to let the dollar re-anchor the gold issue since entering April, once again taking the market by surprise. Behind the dollar's so aggressive interest rate hikes, by the time the United States inflation is under control, but the process of de-dollarization of the world's countries is almost the same, the U.S. and what way to maintain the hegemony of the U.S. dollar. Tell us your opinion.